what an amazing thing happened here at the church. I received lots of different, can you hear me okay? Okay in the back, can you hear me? Wave at me, okay, cool. Received lots of different emails of different things that the Lord had done in people's lives last week. Got a really cool one from a kind of a rough kind of guy. He said, Pastor Hooper, I accepted Jesus as my personal Savior on Easter Sunday. And he said, for two reasons. He said, number one, the Holy Spirit had been working on me, and number two, you scared the hell out of me. So if we scared the hell out of you last Sunday, we're going to talk about love this Sunday. Love. Staying in love. I was noticing the diversity of the people in the worship center this morning. I was walking around, and I think the reason why there's the diversity is because we're all interested in this. I don't care if you're a teenager. I think you want to know that when you get married to somebody, they're going to love you for all their life and all your life. I mean, when you're old and you got slobber running down your cheek and you're not looking too good, they're going to be there for you. I think as I look around with the singles in the room, many of you that I know you've had your heart broken 5 or 6 times. I know you have. And you might have a tendency to think that it's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to find that right person who will be right for me all of my life. And I'm probably set up to be hurt again and again and again. But yet you're here because of the hope of the title of this series. And then I see married couples of all ages and stages of life. And even though many of your friends have dropped out in their second, third, fourth divorce, you're here. And if you've gone through that, you're here with the belief that, things can be different for you. And so I commend you for that. That's awesome. I want every person in here who's been married for over 25 years to the same person to stand, please. Would you do that? You've been married to over 25 years to the same person. All right, stay there. Stand up. Hold on. Let me look at you. Let me see how good you're doing. Let me see. Yes, some of you looking a little rough. That's all right. Now, sit down. First of all, did you notice how slow they got up? That's for 2 reasons. Number 1, they're tired. Number 2, they're old. I'm 53 years of age. A couple of weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon, I took a nap, woke up with a sore neck. That's right, I hurt myself sleeping. I just can't sleep like I used to. You ever have a sleep-related injury? When I was in my 20s, I could sleep for 10 hours, get up, have a bowl of Apple Jacks, go back, sleep for 4 more hours. And now I can't take a 20-minute nap without hurting myself. 5 years ago, a movie came out called Juno. I normally don't recommend movies because in any movie, there's some good stuff and then there's a bad scene. So I don't want to recommend movies where you see it, you're watching, you're going, and then the bad scene pops up and you go, Pastor Hooper recommended this movie. So I normally don't. But Juno was a movie that came out in 2007. Anybody see it? Yeah, anybody planning on seeing it? Okay, good, because I'm about to ruin it for you. In 2007, when this movie came out, this teenage girl got pregnant, and she was living with her stepdad, or her dad and her stepmother. They had gotten a divorce, and her boyfriend had gotten her pregnant, and she didn't know what she was going to do, so she decided that she would answer an ad in the paper of a couple wanting to adopt a child. And then in interviewing this couple, she found out that this couple was really cool, and she thought maybe she would give the baby to the couple. But then with the pressure of a new baby coming into this couple's house, their relationship started to implode. And it left her with all kinds of questions. The questions being, does anybody's marriage really last for a long time? Her mom and her dad, of course, had split up, and her dad was like this really cool guy. In a very tender moment, she asked her dad a very important question to her heart. And I put it on the side screen because I think it's that significant. And it goes like this. She said, Dad, I just need to know that it's possible for 2 people to stay happy together forever. Not just stay together, but to stay happy together forever. And the thoughts that were going through her mind, of course, was the fact that yours and Mom's relationship didn't work, and it didn't work out for the couple that I was going to give the baby to, and so far it hadn't worked out for me. And I just need to know, Dad, am I kidding myself? Am I kidding myself? Am I shooting for something that is just not really reasonable? Is it possible? And you see, I think in spite of the fact that all of us have experienced marriages or relationships, long-term ones that ended in our respected families, I think that even though we see it in our culture, even though we see it in the news, even though if you keep up with Hollywood much and you see an 8-month marriage or an 18-month, whatever, I think that the question still resonates with all of us. Is it possible in this day and age for a man and a woman to be married, to be happy, to stay married, and happy together forever? And I think there's something in all of us that really want to believe that. I think we do. I think every woman, every man in here really wants to believe that that is a possibility. We want to think that our last date with our mate will be walking side by side on our walkers down the hallway of a nursing home to a cafeteria where we will sit and we will hold hands while eating that Jell-O together for our dessert. I think that's the picture we have in our mind. I don't think we go into a relationship with any less expectation than that. But the question asked in the title of the series, is it really reasonable these days? Is it really reasonable to think that you can beat the odds? And I think the reason why we want to believe that is because of a little bit of the image of God that is in me and a little bit of the image of God that is in you, that we can actually love somebody forever. And I think it's good that we have 3 or 4 really good friends, 3 or 4 buddies, that I have and that I fish with, I hunt with, we go four-wheeling with. They know me pretty good. I mean, it's better than anybody else on the planet probably. And that's good. I think that's good. And you women, to be able to have some girlfriends that you can go out and have a cup of coffee with, meet down at the Starbucks, do a little shoe shopping, whatever it is you girls do. But I think more important than that is that each one of us, male and female, know that we have somebody special. That no matter what, that after they've invested, after you've invested, after we put a lifetime in together, after we've had some kids, after they've grown up, moved away, that they'll still look in our eyes and be glad they married us. That we'll still grow old together, and when somebody gets sick, the other one is still there. That no matter what, you never doubt it for a second. This person is that special person who will love me all of their life. I think one of the reasons why it's so difficult to understand this is because we've really rarely seen it modeled. We've really rarely experienced it in our lifetime, and most of the time if we see somebody that's been married for a long time, we assess, well, yeah, they might be together, but they're really not that happy. The way they talk to each other, the way they interact, I mean, really, when one of them goes home to be with the Lord, the other one isn't really that sad about it. Or maybe they grieve because of whatever, but I know the inside story, and I'm not really sure that hurt them as bad as they think it did. And I think we've all seen that, experienced that, and we all want to ask the question. I think that's why we're here. But before I get into that, I need to take 10 seconds to talk to you about how to fall in love, okay? Because really 10 seconds is all I need to talk about this one. If you've got a pulse, if you've got a set of eyeballs, you can fall in love. Today, if you've got a little bit of money and you can fill out a profile online, you can enter into 1,500 different agencies that will help you find that special someone who is compatible. ChristianMingle.com. You can find even a Christian. FishermanAlike.com, where you can find a woman who likes to fish, whatever. There is a website out there for you to go to and to be able to find somebody that has like interests that you have. You can look at their profile online. You can even see a picture of them. You can request more pictures of them in case that was the best picture they have ever taken in the history of their entire life. And you can decide from there whether or not you want to take this relationship any further than just a profile that you read online. And it is true that really today it is easier to fall in love than ever in the history of the planet. But I think many of you will agree with me, it has also never been more difficult to stay in love than what it is right now. And again, I think it's because of what we've seen modeled. Most of us grew up with this adage, do unto others in return to what they do unto you, or do unto others as your mood would have you do unto others, or do unto others until you wear them down and get them to do exactly what it is that you want them to do. Some of you are like, that's my adage. That's where I'm living. I'm living that way. That's how I roll these days. And you may know people that stay together, but very few people know people who stay together and they stay in love with each other. Now, a bunch of really smart people a long time ago got together and decided what kind of home a person would have to grow up in order to give them the greatest chance or attributes to be able to fall in love and have a lifelong relationship with somebody where they would not want to get a divorce and they would be happily, married forever after. And these smart people came up with these things that children in homes and families today would have to have massive doses of. And here they are: respect, encouragement, comfort, security, support, acceptance, approval, appreciation, attention, and affection. Does that sound like how you grew up? Sound like the home you were in? Well, for some people, maybe you did grow up in a home where you received all those things in massive doses. But what if you meet a person who didn't? What if you meet another grown adult person who grew up with a deficit in any one of those areas? And they're looking to you to fill the void, to replace the deficit. And what happens after a little while if they're looking at you going, are you going to give me what I need, this affection, this respect, this encouragement, this comfort, this security, the support, the acceptance, and the approval that I'm looking for? Are you going to give me all those things in this relationship, or are you just cute? Because cute ain't going to cut it after a while. After a while, cute don't pay the bills. After a while, cute don't meet the needs. Cute's just cute, and cute diminishes after a while. So this is what we've got to know. What is it going to take for families or husbands and wives to be able to stay with it and love each other for a long time? Here's a couple of other problems that we can throw into the mix when it comes to the title being true. 40% of the children born in the United States this year are going to be born into a family without a dad. Now, I'm not here to talk about the mother's nurturing abilities or the dad's when the other one's not around. It's not about that. But if it takes respect, encouragement, comfort, security, support, acceptance, approval, appreciation, attention, and affection, if it takes all of those things, how much better is a child going to be equipped in any of those areas, or how much more are they going to be left with a deficit when there's not even a man in the picture? And they grow up into an adult relationship with a deficit, and it's not their fault. And it may not have been your fault either. Here's another problem. We also live in a culture where we developed a very low threshold for pain relationally. We've developed a low threshold for relational pain. In other words, it doesn't have to hurt too bad before we decide we just want to get out. And then our culture sends us this message: if you're not happy in your current relationship, you chose poorly. So get online to one of these agencies and find yourself somebody that's more compatible. You see, if you talk to the couples, though, that stood a minute ago that have been married for over 25 years, all of them, if they were to keep it real, would tell you the same thing. There were times in their relationship where they wondered whether or not they were with the right person. Every one of them. Oh, it may have been for a day, maybe some of you 2 or 3 days, maybe some of you just a few hours, maybe some of you a few seconds. But every person that's ever had a lifelong loving relationship has probably felt one time or another, did I marry the right person? And instead of staying focused on this, they decided that they were the right person and they were going to be the right person for that other person. I'll get to that in a minute. Choosing the right person, you see, is only part of it. Learning to become the right person, oh, that's all of it. Choosing the right person is only part of it. Learning to become the right person, well, that's pretty much all of it. So to answer the question, is it possible that you can have a long-lasting, lifetime loving relationship? Is it possible? Well, I'll have to be honest with you. The odds stack up really against you. They really do. And I'll go on to say it may be possible, but it's not probable. Now, it's into this chaos. By the way, back in the day when Jesus was on the planet, men could divorce their wives very easily. All they had to do to have a legal divorce in that day and age would be to say, I divorce you, I divorce you, I divorce you. 3 times, you're done, the new one can step in now. You got that? So any fight that a man had with his wife, if she wasn't acting correctly, he could put her on the street by saying 3 times, I divorce you. It was that kind of chaos where relationships were like lasting days and weeks at the most sometimes, where Jesus stepped in and said, I'm going to tell you something brand new, so pay close attention. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what Jesus spoke into this situation where we can have lifelong, loving relationships. But I've got to give you something up front. I've got to tell you, what I'm about to tell you is so simple that you may skip over it. It is counterintuitive. It is countercultural. And it is, you're going to hear it and you're going to go, Pastor, really? I mean, I got him to church today so that you would give him a zinger or two. I got him here so that you would say what he needs to hear so that I can stand to live with this man. And every time you say something, I'm going to elbow him so that I know that he knows that I know that you said it and I heard it and he heard it. Or I brought her here today, Pastor, so you give her a zinger. I mean, she's hard to live with. And I mean, I just need to, listen, it's not going to be like that. This is going to be very, very simple. Jesus said, are you ready for this? John chapter 13:34. Speaking into this chaos, I'm going to tell you a new commandment. This is an imperative. This is a you gotta do it kind of thing from Jesus. And here it is. Love one another. Now, some of you are thinking, Pastor, really, you studied all week for that? You could have done better than that. I came for that. Love one another. Now listen, take a look again. Jesus takes a word that we use as a noun. We fall into it, right? A noun. We fall out of it. It's a noun. It's a thing, right? So he takes a word that we use as a noun and he makes it a verb, an imperative command. It's not something that you be in, it's something you do. Jesus is saying, love them in action. Don't fall in it, fall out of it. That's the culture. That's not what Jesus is saying. I want you to go out, I want you to love one another, not a noun, but a verb. Jesus, if he was your counselor, you'd come in and you say, well, she's not doing this and she's doing that and she's making it real hard for me to live with her or even want to come home at night. And Jesus will say, well, are you loving her? And you might say, well, I did love her, but I don't any. Whoa. No, it's not you don't any. You don't any what? You don't any noun her? I'm not telling you to noun her. I'm telling you to verb her. Are you verbing her? Are you loving her? Are you actioning out this love for her? You don't fall in and out of action. You either do it or you don't do it. Where you're saying you noun, don't, or do, Jesus is saying you're married. You have no choice. Love one another. Well, I don't think I feel that. It's not about feelings. Many times in a marriage situation where feelings begin out as the engine, sometimes move to the caboose and then learn how to work its way up into importance in that relationship where you put commitment out. The feelings are not, he didn't say feelings. He didn't say, I'm not asking you how you feel about her. I'm not asking you how you noun her. I'm asking you, are you verbing her? Are you loving her? You see, Jesus is saying, I want to fix your relationship. I want you to go home. I want you to love one another. But we don't love one another. But you ought to because you're married. See, it's not about feelings. It is about actions. And actions, therefore, recreate feelings. And everybody that's been married for more than a day or two know this is true. Quit treating love like a noun and treat it like a verb as how Jesus said it. So here's the foundation. The foundation for staying in love is to make love. Pause. A verb. Now you'll remember that now, won't you? Let me say it again. The foundation for staying in love is to make love, pause, a verb. That's the foundation for a long-lasting relationship. The goal is not to recapture a feeling. Let the feeling move to the back of the relationship for a period of time. And then you'll eventually move it forward. It starts out as an engine, moves to the caboose, but when you actively make love a verb, it will rekindle those feelings that you had in the beginning, but only stronger. And the more you make love a verb, the more you'll make love. Well, you didn't hear that here, but I'm telling you the truth. And then Jesus says, don't take your cue. By the way, let me give you the second part of that verse. He says, this is the command I'm giving you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. In other words, now this is the important part. Please listen to me very carefully. You cannot take your cue from your parents. You cannot take your cue on loving somebody for a lifetime from our culture, and you cannot take it from Hollywood. Have you ever noticed that love stories are about an hour and a half long at the movie theater? Do you want to know why? If you stretch the story out further than that, where kids and dogs and cats and in-laws entered the picture, it wouldn't be a love story. Are you with me? The greatest love story that will ever be lived out on this planet will be lived out in your house, privately, between you and your mate, and nobody will step in there to write a book on it. Nobody. Because it's countercultural, it is counterintuitive, it goes against sometimes every relationship we've ever seen in our life. And Jesus said, so because you don't have a model, watch me model it. And then he says this, love them. Watch this. What's the second part of that verse? As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Jesus is saying, guys, take your cue from me. I mean, you remember what I did for you. He says, take your cue from me. You remember how much I loved you, how much I cared for you, what Easter was all about. You saw the show. You know what I did. Take your cue from me. And then Paul comes around a little bit later, uses another word that means love with a barb on it. And this is what he says. Submit to one another, Ephesians 5, out of the reverence to the Lord. So here it is. This is Paul talking about it. The foundation for those who will stay in love is mutual submission. It is love in action. In other words, in our relationship, you are the priority. Now, Jesus can say this because Jesus came here, and he didn't say, wait a minute, this whole, building up to Easter thing's going to hurt me. So instead of letting it hurt me, I'm just going to let hell hurt you because I'm more important here. I'm the Son of God, after all. No. You know what Jesus said? Jesus said, you're more important than me. So I'm giving myself for you. And then Jesus said, oh, by the way, model that. Here's your cue. Take it from me, right? Now, isn't that something? That means, and if you've ever, you ever seen this in action, and most of you haven't because it's really rare, but if you ever see this in action in the life of a man and a woman, it is scary good. Scary good. Where the man walks in and says, baby, you are the most important person in this house. I choose to put you over me. I choose for your feelings, your emotions, your needs. I choose for you to be the most important person in this house. And the wife says, no, baby. Now listen, I choose to put you over me. I choose for your needs, your desires, your wants, your feelings to be more important than my own. And I am going to make you the most important person in this house. Oh, man. When you got that working with him and with her, see, the problem is most men want to say this. They want to say, well, if she'll ever start acting this way and if she'll start doing that, then that's not how Jesus did it at all. If Jesus said, Jesus didn't go, well, if you people would just start acting saved, then I'll save you. You do that? No, because of your importance. Because of your importance. And the wife's saying, you know what, you don't treat me this way, and you don't treat me that way, and you call me this, and boy, I'm not going to, I'm going to. And then all of a sudden, there you go. When Jesus said, that's how your parents did it. That's how your school friends did it, and they lasted 15 years. I'm telling you how to do it. Love for a lifetime. It is imperative. It is a command. You put that person as top priority on your life in this planet. And when you treat him that way, oh my gosh. Now, men, I want to tell you something, but women, you can't hear this. Because first of all, you might get ticked at me if you listen too close. But I'm going to tell them something about you. So think about shopping or look at the girl's shoes beside you, okay? Okay, men, listen to me. God made women responsive, okay? They are responders. Listen to what I'm telling you. Listen to this. I got to tell it this way. I got to pick another word. If you treat her like a witch, Sunday morning 11 o'clock crowd, she will act like a witch to you. Are you with me, my brothers? If you treat her very special, she will act very special to you. Okay, women, you can listen again. All right. So here's the thing. You got it. What the Bible's talking about here is you just make them your top priority. And let me give it to you very, very quickly. And we're just getting into this. Just getting into it. The foundation for staying not just together but in love is to make love a verb. To submit to one another, mutual submission, making them the most important. Let me tell you something. Anna is the most important person on this planet to me. You go, what about the kids? They're down the road after the grandkids. Really? They are the taxi cab service that gets the grandkids to Grand and Pop-Pop. But she's my most important member in our church. Her needs are way, way ahead of yours. Honey, I want to go somewhere. I know, babe, but I need to work. Baby, I need to go somewhere, and we need to get out of here for a little while. Okay, we're going. We're going. Well, what if somebody doesn't like it? I don't care. I don't care. You don't sleep with me. I don't care. Because here's the thing. She needs to know that. she's the most important person on the planet. Is work important? You betcha. Is making a living important? You betcha. Bringing home a paycheck important? You betcha. And something else, man, let me tell you this on the fact of the ladies, okay? Regardless of what you look like or how old you get, the sexiest man on the planet is one who will show up at the front door with a paycheck in his hand. You understand what I'm saying? All right. You women could have did better than that, but you didn't. Number one, make love a verb. Number two, mutual submission, making that other person the most important person in your life and the most important person in the house. And number three, take your cue from Jesus. Take your cue from Jesus. I've had a privilege of pastoring in one place now for 23 years or so, and it's really cool when a pastor can be in an area for a long time, because then he can see how men and women grow up, how marriages are doing, how kids are doing. And really, my kids grow up with your kids, and it's fun to see that, and then grandkids, and it's just a fun thing. But over the years, I've had the privilege of being able to meet with men who've come into our church that never had a long-term loving relationship modeled for them. They've never had it. Their mom and dad divorced 2 or 3 times, step-parents, and this, that, and the other. They have never seen a couple grow older together that's not grouchy with each other. By the way, women, let me just talk to you women for a second, because this is a killer for you. If you're in your 20s and 30s, would you raise your hand, girls? Okay, listen. One of the real dangerous things for you is to not have a mentor or a model in your life to watch women grow older with their husbands who treat their husbands respectfully. In other words, if your mother is in her 50s, and normally if you're in your 20s and 30s, your mom's in your 50s, if you see your mom and dad in your 50s and you watch how they talk to each other, and they're just, and they don't respect each other, and they're always talking over each other, or they're repeating each other's story, or they're changing the story, or that ain't how it happened, and you see all that. If you're not careful, when you get into your 50s and your kids are gone, you're going to default back to treating your husband exactly the way your mother treated your dad. That is dangerous. That's going to cause him to say, you're just like and that is nothing you ever want to hear as a woman. Are you with me? So you got to be real careful with this. So a lot of people will come to our church and they've never had it modeled, they've never had it mentored in front of them. And many times I've dealt with men where they've never had a long-lasting, loving, respectful, happy, laughing relationship modeled for them. And then I'll see them come into our church and they'll have a relationship with Jesus. And then they'll go, you know what, I love this woman, but I don't want to do her like my dad did my mom, or my stepmom, or my other stepmom. I want to do it differently. And then all of a sudden they'll tuck in to take their cues from the Lord. And they'll put themselves in classes where they're mentored by other men who love God and love their wife the way they're supposed to. And when all that happens, we'll see a marriage blossom out of that, where there's all these deficits in his life and all these deficits in her life. But that marriage is something that models the incredible love of God, because they've said this above everything else: I love my Lord, and I'm doing my marriage your way. Not my dad's way, not my mom's way, not her way, not anybody. I'm going to do it your way, and I'm going to love her like this. And all of a sudden, she's a responder, right? So she starts responding back as the special person that she's being treated, who God made her to be. And all of a sudden, there's this amazing marriage that comes out of the rubble of no past whatsoever. It's beautiful. 2 weeks, April the 29th, Ann and I will have been married for 35 years. April the 29th, 35 years. And for those of you that don't know the story, we met in high school. She was my best friend in high school. She's a cheerleader. I'm on the football team. And I was new to the school. I went new to the school as a sophomore in high school, as a junior in high school, and she had grown up with all the people in the school. So everybody knew her. Nobody knew me. And so she was saving she would save a chair for me in the cafeteria at lunch, and I'd walk in after sweaty football practice, and then here she was, and she'd ride home with me and my brother in the evenings after football practice and cheerleader stuff, and we stunk, and she didn't care. She'd just get in the car, and she was so sweet. And I radically fell in love with her. I married her when I was 18. She was 17. Her mother had to go to the courthouse with us to sign. I tell you that to tell you this: we had no baggage going into our marriage at all. Just a few girlfriends on my side, a couple of boyfriends on her side. That was it. The only baggage we've had in our relationships, that which we picked up and created throughout the 35 years we've been together. But I will tell you this: after 35 years, honest to God, I'd marry that girl all over again. I'd just do it faster this time. It wouldn't be legal, but I'd do it faster this time. And we seriously love doing things together. We love traveling together. We still hold hands. I still open the car door for her every time she walks around, unless it's raining. If it's raining, I let her run to it. But I'm joking. I still grab the car door for her. I still treat her as very, very special, and she treats me back that way. We don't yell at each other unless we're in a sporting event together. If we are playing golf together, I will always try to pick up a putt when it's like that far from the hole. That's called a gimme. And she will yell at me and say, "You ain't going to count that unless you put it in the hole." So we yell at each other about stuff like that because we're very competitive when it comes to, things like that. But I said we absolutely do love each other very, very much. So I know, but you know what? Her mom and dad were married way past 50 years until he went home to be with the Lord. She still loved him. And my mom and dad were married way past 50 years until he went home to be with the Lord. She still took care and loved him. So that's what's been modeled for us. But that's not an advantage that a lot of people have. So because of that, you're going to have to go counterintuitive. You're going to have to go countercultural. You're going to have to take your cues directly from Jesus and Jesus alone. And when it doesn't feel like you're getting your way, big deal. Big deal. Think about the sacrifices Jesus made for you to be saved. Think about the first move that he made. Think about the catch-22 that he broke. And do love as a verb. I don't know about some of you guys, Lindsay, you know what I'm talking about, but we got friends in their 50s, and guys in their 50s get crazy. They get crazy. So I will tell a bunch of buddies in my 50s, because I know a bunch have been married 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. They get their kids completely out of school. Then they change their wife, who altered her body to have your children, for a younger woman whose body had not yet been altered. Are you with me? That ought to tick you women off. But these guys will do that. And I tell all my buddy friends, I said, look, if you're going through some kind of a midlife crisis, listen to me now. Listen to me. Listen to your brother talk to you. Get yourself a Corvette. Get yourself a real expensive lifted truck. Get yourself a gold chain and unbutton your right down here to that chest hair that's now turning gray on you, that's real attractive, by the way. And you run those buttons down there and put that on there, and grow yourself out a mustache and dye it where it's black and it looks stupid. Just do whatever you want to do. That's fine. You go spend $100,000 on it. Go ahead. But if you get yourself a younger woman, it is going to be more expensive than you ever dreamed possible, because because some of you old guys aren't that cute, and you really don't have enough money to carry a younger woman for a very long time. And besides all that, as a 50-year-old man, if you got to listen to a 20-year-old woman talk for a period of time, it's going to make your head explode. Am I talking to you? All right, that's all I got. That's the beginning. We'll pick it up next week. See y'all later. I love you. Bye-bye.